Picking up from where we stopped in the last video, where Prince Harry had gone to Canada to see Meghan and attended a Halloween party with Princess Eugenie and Jack. In a dramatic change of tone, we see that just as Meghan had been introduced to the family, Meghan was now introduced to the evil in-laws, aka the media, who promptly did what they have always done, which is to make the lives of anyone Prince Harry was dating miserable, forcing the relationship to eventually end. Just looking at the story on the screen. Prince Harry says, "I braced myself for the usual madness with standard labels, but I hadn't anticipated this level of unrestrained lying. Above all, I hadn't been ready for the racism. Both the dog whistle racism and a glaring vulgar in-your-face racism." The headline of the newspaper article Harry is referring to here is, "Harry's girl is almost straight Outta Compton. Gang-scarred home of her mother revealed. So will he be dropping by for tea?" Do you guys remember seeing this story? Onwards, Prince Harry's quest to stop the media from Meghan from harassing Meghan began. Prince Harry says, "I had talked with the lawyer," he's referring to the palace lawyer here, "trying to work out how to protect Meg from this attack and all the others. I spent most of every day from the moment I opened my eyes until long past midnight to make it stop. Courtiers blocked us hard. Nothing can be done, they said, and therefore nothing will be done. I accepted this as final until I read an essay in the Huffington Post. The essayist said the mild reaction of Britons to this explosion of racism was to be expected, since they were the heirs of racist colonialists. But what was truly unforgivable," she added, "was my silence." Oh my God, that must have been crushing for Harry to read. Prince Harry continues, "I showed the essay to Jason, said we needed a course correction immediately. No more debate, no more discussion. We needed a statement out there." And the raft of evil stories continued. I mean, imagine this story by Boris Johnson's sister, Rachel Johnson. She says, "When I look at Meghan Markle, the American small screen actress currently starring as Harry's hottie," can you imagine how condescending that is? "I can't help it. I assess her as a future daughter-in-law. Prince Harry, 32, lost his mother when he was a boy, and ever since that dark day, I've had feelings for him, maternal feelings. And every time he has a girlfriend, I subjected her to the mom test. I tried to decide whether Princess Diana and the Queen would give Chelsea or Cressida or Jenna or whomever the thumbs up or down as a potential royal consort and addition to the firm. So I have done my due diligence on Miss Markle, and this is where I stand. Genetically, she's blessed. If there is issue from her alleged union with Prince Harry, the Windsors will thicken their watery, thin blue blood and Spencer pale skin and ginger hair with some rich and exotic DNA. Miss Markle's mother is a dreadlocked African-American lady from the wrong side of the tracks who lives in LA, and even the sourest spinster has to admit that the 35-year-old actress is extremely easy on the eye. Miss Markle has an active social conscience, and anti-landmine campaigner Princess Diana would be delighted that she is the ambassador for World Vision and has toured Afghanistan and Rwanda as part of her humanitarian effort." Did you see that? Exotic DNA, dreadlocked African-American lady from the wrong side of the tracks. No wonder when she went to America after she had written this article trying to promote a book, I think almost every interviewer raised this article and she had to apologize for it. And the avalanche of negative headlines continued. Look at this one. Could Prince Harry ever marry a divorcee, Meghan Markle? There are royal precedents. And look at this headline from The Sun. Fancy a quick puck? Prince Harry's girl, Meghan Markle, split from husband after getting close to Canadian ice hockey star Michael Del Zotto For Harry, this was the story that broke the camel's back, and he couldn't remain silent anymore. He had begged and begged for the palace to do something, but no one would pay him any mind, and so he put out a strong, precise, angry but honest statement, asking for kindness and consideration towards Meghan. With the media storm raging around them, it's a wonder Harry and Meghan were able to continue to live their lives. But somehow they were able to maintain their strong bond, the strong bond which had developed between them. And Harry discusses meeting Meghan's mother, who had flown down from America to meet him. And feeling guilty for the harassment and stress Meghan was undergoing for his sake, he met with her with some disquiet in his mind. And as if all the other things that were happening were not enough, some idiot posted some photos of Meghan on Pornhub, which were used as the basis of an article in The Sun. This forced Meghan to take legal action against The Sun. And in order to take this legal action, she had to spend tens of thousands of dollars. In the midst of that anyway, Meghan was able to continue with her humanitarian work, taking a trip to India with World Vision. The article you can see on the screen covers her visits to India. This is the iconic picture of Princess Diana in front of the Taj Mahal. Can you imagine Harry actually had to tell Meghan not to take this photograph? Basically asking her to deny herself of such a simple pleasure, just because he was afraid of what the press would say, since there were seen to be so many stories about everything that Meghan did. Little did he realize that there was nothing that he or Meghan were going to be able to do to stop the media from putting out negative stories about them no matter what. Because look at can and can't not taking a similar photo in front of the Taj Mahal. Looking at can and can't not, aren't you supposed to get better as you get older? It appears that Kate has actually regressed as she has gotten older. I mean, the clothes may be nicer, but I think that they seemed more in tune and more relatable back then. What do you guys think? Or is this just a sign of, or is it that the way they look now is just a sign of the fact that they made a deal with the devil? Anyway, sad and desperate, Prince Harry describes turning to his father at the time for help. He says, not knowing where else to turn, I phoned Pa. Don't read it, darling boy. It's not that simple, I said angrily. I might lose this woman. She might either decide I'm not worth the bother, or the press might so poison the public that some idiot might do something bad, harm her in some way. It was already happening in slow motion. Death threats. He said I was overreacting. This is sadly just the way it is. And this is exactly what Harry was trying to say. What do you mean by this is just the way it is? Clearly, what was happening to Meghan was wrong. The fact that it had happened to the other royal wives didn't mean that it had to be the same way for Harry's wife. Considering the fact that now there was is it unconscious bias element or the racist element included in the treatment. It wasn't just the bullying, it wasn't just the hazing that royal wives usually receive entering into the establishment. In an interview, one of the senior officials of one of the top security establishments in the country confirmed that Meghan received credible death threats. So how do you say, and I'm sure Prince Charles, as he was at the time, must have been aware of the death threats. So what was his expectation? What did he think was going to happen? How did he think it was going to work out? The only thing that I can think of is that he let things happen the way they did so that Harry would not marry Meghan, and that it would be the royal family who would choose who Harry would marry. And while he was looking for help from his father, which was denied by the way, Meghan achieved a small victory of having the Sun print a correction of the Pornhub story. So you see that little blue box circled in red on the left, yeah, that was the correction of the Pornhub story. That was clearly inadequate because no one, of course, would see this story, although it is on the second page of the newspaper. But how many people ever read beyond the first page of the headlines on the newspaper? Exactly. Anyway, so far, Meghan had done most of the traveling to see Harry, being dangerously harassed by the press about her relationship with Harry and optimistic about the future. Harry asked Meghan to move in with him, and she said yes. Obviously, a lot went on in between, but I must move a bit quicker now so that I can get to the end of this section. Just share this photograph with you from the outing. This is one of the most shared photographs from the Invictus Games outing. They just look so happy, and I think when I saw this photograph the first time, I was just like, yes, Meghan, her hair, her sunglasses, the shirt, the jeans, everything. She just looked perfect. So after the Invictus Games, which was the first official outing for Harry and Meghan as a couple, Prince Harry proposed and Meghan accepted the proposal. After the proposal was accepted, the palace directed them to go on an engagement tour to introduce her to the UK. Enjoy the next few engagement tour photographs. So, after the engagement tour, the next thing would be to plan the wedding, right? I found it so funny that Harry mentioned trying to set plans in motion to marry Meghan as soon as possible before she changed her mind. He didn't want the reality of what his life was like to set in, because obviously that would make anyone want to change their minds. Just imagine the level of toxicity around him. And everyone around them seemed to be doing everything they could to obstruct them. I mean, do you remember the whole controversy about the tiara, where the Spencers had offered their own tiara, but in the end the Queen offered Meghan a royal tiara, but Angela Kelly did everything she could to make it as difficult as possible for Meghan to get a hold of the tiara offered to Meghan by the Queen. It's always the people around the power, isn't it? Or what about the famous bridesmaid dress gate, leading to the famous Meghan made Kate cry story? Just standing by and letting Meghan be blamed for this story without doing anything to help Meghan, knowing how brutally Meghan was being treated in the press. It doesn't matter. Don't tell me anything about her status, about being the wife of the heir to the throne, and how the royal family doesn't complain or anything. Clearly, we do see that when they're ready to act, they do. She probably thought that she had gone through her own stage of hazing without any help and didn't see why she should help Meghan. And in that, she just lost herself an ally, a lifelong companion who would support her in everything that needed to, in everything that they were both going through. In the back, as I referred to earlier in the video, in the backdrop of the very real threats Meghan was facing, Kate's intervention could have helped Meghan a lot. Imagine if the two sister-in-laws had been able to become friends. It's just, I don't know the kind of father that you need to be someone like this. And of course, came the story about Meghan Markle's father, who had apparently taken money from the media to stage photos of himself doing things like looking Harry and Meghan up on the media and being measured for a suit. I think it's quite sad that Meghan's lost such a close relationship with her father, and after reading the book, I can see that if Meghan had known what she knew today about the royal family and how little protection she was going to be receiving, she would have found a way to do things differently and to protect herself and her father and her mother. I think we also forget that Harry and Meghan are still quite young, and they did the best that they could to manage the situation at the time. So, how are you feeling after listening or seeing all those newspaper articles? If you're like me, by the time I finished looking at 30 or 40 news articles yesterday, I was so angry. But the thing is, what do you do with your anger? If you're not careful, it can cause you to be depressed or frustrated. If I may, I would like to suggest or remind everyone that there are things you can actually do to help Harry and Meghan. In today's video, I'm only going to be talking about the simple things that I know that you can do to help Harry and Meghan, and that is, in one short sentence, support those who are supporting Harry and Meghan. Whether you particularly enjoy a video or you enjoy a podcast or you read an article, the supporting Harry and Meghan online, it doesn't cost any money at all, and it doesn't even take that much time. With just a click, you can like a video, you can share a video, you can subscribe to one Sussex friendly channel a day, starting with mine. If you haven't already subscribed, shameless plug. You can take the time to like a minimum of 10 videos on each Sussex friendly channel you find, starting with mine, shameless plug. Now, I do know that when you type in Harry and Meghan into the search bar on YouTube, all the negative media channels come up. But we can't be discouraged because we see that. We just have to keep on going. So what I would recommend is just take the time. If all you can do is to like a video, like the video on purpose. Just like the video, it does do something. If you can share a video so that that video gets exposure, it gets attention, do that. Share it to as many people as you can. Subscribe to his one Sussex friendly channel a day. Creating content about Harry and Meghan is $1 billion industry, and it doesn't matter what they do. They don't actively seek attention. I'm sure you can see that, but they are public figures, so whatever it is that they do, these people are going to be spinning negative stories about them because it suits the royal family's position that it should be done that way. Okay. The next controversy that came up was the Beardgate controversy. Harry discusses the fact that Prince William was incandescent with rage one more time because Prince Harry was going to be allowed to keep his beard. This was another big sign that things were not going well with William, and they were not going to go well with William in the future, that they were not going to have the support of William in their relationship, no matter how much Harry had supported William when in his relationship with Kate. And these are just some photos from the wedding I'm just going to be sharing. I remembered watching the wedding and seeing the royal family snickering when Bishop Curry was giving the sermon, and my heart sank all the way to the floor. I just knew then that Meghan was going to have a very difficult time with the royal family. It was quite sad to see that the familial breakdown could have been prevented if only King Charles had stepped in at the early stages when it became obvious that Meghan was more than a fling to his son. So we're going to stop here before going on, just because we don't want the video to be too long. But I would just summarize here and say it was quite sad to see that the familial breakdown could have been prevented if only King Charles had stepped in at the early stages when it became obvious that Meghan was more than a fling to his son. He had so many options. If he had this secret arrangement with the media, they could have made moves for Harry to be able to live somewhere else, so that the pressure was not so much on him and only came over to do the work, sort of like the half in, half out arrangement that Harry and Meghan proposed when they decided that they were going to step down from working as the senior members of the royal family. It's astonishing that the royal family don't appear to have training or measures in place for the new wives coming into the family. It's also frustrating to see that even with all he knew, Prince Harry didn't realize the full extent or how far the royal family could go in their cold scheming ways. If there was going to be an employment tribunal case, the subjects being Harry and Meghan taking the royal family to court, there would be no doubt in my mind that they would be guilty of not providing an incoming member of the family sufficient training to survive within the royal family. Although they pretended to themselves that they remain a family, but we can all see that they're always in institution mode no matter what. Why is it that the UK system allows the press to print lies about a person? Why are there no better laws in place protecting people from the kind of harassment that Harry and Meghan were subjected to, all in the name of freedom of speech? This is the core of what Harry's court case is all about. It's one thing to print stories which the media would consider to be in the public interest. It's quite another to create an environment of toxicity where the lies printed in the stories telegraph widespread among the people, ruining the reputations of the people whom they wish to do their bidding without any seeming consequence. God bless the successes and their children.